Hey everybody, it's Michelle Pethley with Shelly's Wreaths and More, and today we're going to work on this Trendy Tree lemon kit. It's a black and white lemon kit. It comes with this sign. I'm going to have a lot of fun with the little pink in there. Comes with 2 rolls of mesh, this yellow fabric mesh, and this drift mesh, black and white drift mesh. Comes with this wreath frame and these 4 ribbons. It's a beautiful tile lemon ribbon here, black and white polka dot. Both of those are 2.5 inches. And then we have 2 1.5 inch ribbons, polka dot yellow, as well as a black and white stripe. So let's get started. Let's get our prep work done ahead of time. I've done a little bit of everything just to make it go a little bit quicker, but I wanted to show you how I did this. Now I take, with metal signs, I take this, it's a jewelry punch. It's a very small hole. You can get these in the jewelry section at Hobby Lobby. You can order it on Amazon. Michael's carries them as well. They're very easy to find. It's just like a normal hole punch. It just punches through metal. I make this little hole here, and then I feed a long pipe cleaner. In this case, I put 2 pipe cleaners together. The reason is when I put the sign in, I have to go through a lot of mesh, so making it a little bit longer makes it a little easier. In any case, just put your pipe cleaner through the hole, twist it up. I've put 1 pipe cleaner on each side. Just twist it up. And because they're white, they kind of blend in. You won't really see them at all when you put them in the mesh of the wreath. Okay, so that prep is done. Now let's finish up our ribbon tails. I cut the other 3 ribbons to 13 inches. That's kind of my go-to for ribbon tails. I have this measuring tool. You can use any measuring tool you have. And if you don't have a measuring tool, simply you can use your mat here to measure. 17 to 30 is 13 inches. You can simply measure them 1 by 1. In this case, having a tool, and you can get these measuring tools from an Etsy shop. You can even use a piece of cardboard, actually, cut to whatever number you want. In my case, like I said, I do 13 inches. So I'm just going to need 8 of these, and I have 1 cut. So I'm going to do 7 wraparounds. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'll cut it off here. And then just cut them off. And there you go. Now we're going to dovetail all of these. And I'm not sure, if I've told you that there are 18 twist ties on the wreath frame, but I don't put ribbon tails on 2 of the ties on the top. We'll get to that and the reasoning behind it, but we're dovetailing these ribbons. All you need to do is line up the edges, fold it in half, cut from the folded side to the point, and there you go. All right, so this is the last ribbon that I needed to, I've done the other 3 before. I've also cut my yellow mesh, the mesh that came with this kit, in 20-inch measurements. And that used the whole roll of yellow mesh. Now with our black mesh, I'm going to try a different method today. With our black mesh, we're going to put poofs on all of these ties. There are 10 on the bottom ring down here, and then there are 8 on the top ring. You'll see that there are 3 rings on this work frame. All right, so I'm going to put poofs on all of the 18. This will give our wreath quite a big appearance. Okay, now to start the poofs, I'm going to get a zip tie. Go look for 2 ties that are relatively close together on the upper and lower. You can see that these are almost right on top of each other, upper and lower. So I want to start with this tie here, and I'm just going to drop my mesh to the floor. Okay, and I'm going to gather up this mesh. It's kind of accordion pleat it. All right, just gather it up. Now I'm going to zip tie it to this middle ring as my starting point. This will hold it in place while we make the poofs. We're going to make the poofs on the top ring first and then move to the bottom ring. And that's why we needed 2 of these ties close together. Let's cut this off and let's get started. Now, I'm going to make 10-inch poofs. I'm going to use this measuring tool again and just move it down to the 10-inch. Okay. I'm going to open up the ties on the top. And all you want to do, the first tie, is just anchor this. And we'll come back to that after we put all of them around, okay? Now, kind of curl the ends under, make a little tube. I'm going to measure this by putting this end of the measuring tool directly next to this tie and running my hand out to the 10-inch mark. Then just put it in my next tie on the wreath frame, twist it, and open up the poof. And there you have it. Now these poofs, if you don't have a measuring tool, again, you can eyeball it. All you want is you want your poofs to be about the same height, and you can use the map below if you want. Let me show you that method. For that method, all you have to do is put this tie, which is our last tie, on some designated line. Let's put it on our 21-inch line, which is right here. All right, I'm going to take this mesh, curl it and I'm going to pull it from the 21-inch line to the 11-inch line. Put my hand at the 11-inch, because 21 minus 11 is 10 inches. Just push that in like that. All right. Another method is these twist ties are roughly 5 inches apart. So if you took your mesh, gathered it up, and you skipped the one tie that's next to it, go all the way over to the next tie, grab your mesh, and then put that into that tie that you skipped, that will give you approximately a 10-inch poof as well. So you can see, you can either eyeball it, be exact and measure it with a tool, use your mat if you want, or simply just take your mesh and guide it to the next one, grab that mesh at that point. Oh, my wreath frame was grabbing my ribbons. And then put that in. Just twist it up and open your poof. Okay? So whatever method you want, all you want to do is just make sure that it's kind of curled under. The 2 sides of the mesh are curled under. And just put it in. And poof them out. I poof them out as I go. It just makes it a little bit easier for me. Okay, we're going to come up to our starting point, and then we're going to transition down to the lower ring. Okay, this is where we're back at the beginning. Get our 10-inch starting. Open up the starting one, Push it down. And there we go. We've got our top done. Now we don't need to cut anything because we did start on this tie that's right over this one. So let's just drop down to this one on the bottom ring. Push the mesh down into that tie. And now we have a starting point on the bottom ring. We're going to do this same process with the 10-inch poofs going all around the bottom. However you want to do it, measuring it, just push it down, twist, and then open your poof. Okay? Now I'm going to finish up this bottom ring and I'll come right back to you. I have the poofs on everything except for the very last poof. I thought I'd show you just how we're going to end this. I'm going to open up the starting point, push this one into it, pull out my poof. All right, you can see that our mesh is here. I'm going to just cut this mesh a little bit longer so that I can, there we go. And with this tail, I'm going to just pull it underneath the wreath frame to that middle where we started. We're going to zip tie the end, this end. So I'm just pulling the mesh through so that it's on the inside of this ring, okay? And I'm just going to pull it, and there's a crossbar right here. All right, I'm going to zip tie this end to that crossbar. Just like we did in the very beginning with the starting point, we're doing it with the ending point. I'm going to zip tie it, cut the zip tie, and then I am going to trim up just a little of this mesh. So I did cut that tail a little bit longer to make it easier. Now that it's tied on, I'm just going to cut it off and get rid of it. Okay, so there is our frame all poofed out. It's really a very pretty mesh. It's kind of got a little bit of a sparkle to it. I don't know if it picks it up on camera, but this is a gorgeous, gorgeous mesh to work with. Okay, we're done measuring. So let's add the yellow mesh to this. Now, as I mentioned before, let me just pick up this mesh from the floor. I'll show you how much we have. A pretty good amount of this mesh left. Can you see that? That's a pretty good amount, which is good. You can add this to any other project. I'm just going to quickly cut off this end. Make it straight. There we go. And we'll put that on the side. Okay, so like I said, you can save that mesh and finish another project or enhance the project with that. Now, I cut my mesh, the yellow roll, at between 19 and 20 inches. And the reason it's in between is because this roll of mesh comes 10 yards, which is 360 inches. So we want to have, and we have 18 ties, so 360 divided by the 18 means 20 inches per tie. The only problem is sometimes the mesh comes slightly shorter. There have been times where mesh will come, much shorter. You might even miss a piece. So by cutting, for me, by cutting between 19 and 20 inches, I'm pretty much going to be left, I'm going to know for sure that I do have enough to get 18 pieces out of it. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put a cruffle in each one of these. The cruffle is 2 curls and a ruffle. We're going to start with a curl on this end. We're going to curl that cut side down on top of itself. We're going to scrunch up the middle and then just curl this end in on top of itself. And you'll see you're left with kind of a bow tie look. All right. Makes a little bow tie pasta. Anyway, butterfly. Now, each end will have a curl, a ruffle, and a curl. Hence the name cruffle. I take and I put my cruffle into the mesh, onto the wreath. I turn my cruffle over. I open up that bottom tie, push it down, and then twist up that tie. Okay? And you'll see that just kind of makes a, just work it around. All right, so we'll be able to see primarily yellow, but the black will come through in the poofs. And I'm just gonna, again, I'll show you quickly this method. It's just curl up the end on top of itself, scrunch up the middle by pulling your fingers and the mesh to your thumbs that are trailing, and then curl that end in on top of itself and you get your cruffle. Now, you do not have to open the ties if you don't want to. I like to do it because I can push it down further into the wreath, and then just pull out your curls and your ruffle. I'll do one more on camera, and then I'll do the rest. Take a quick pause and get that done for you. And we can proceed to putting our tails on. So I'm just going to cruffle up the middle. And when I get towards the end, just turn this end onto itself. Grab it in the middle. I'm going to turn it upside down. Open my tie and put it in. And just adjust everything. Pull the poof up between, so we want the black to show that way. And there we have it. I'm going to finish the rest on the bottom row and most of the top row, and I'll come back and we'll finish the top row. My progress, that I only have 2 more to do. And we'll just quickly do a cruffle for both of those. Just like we've done on the bottom. Pull this end together. Even on the top, I open up these twist ties. You don't have to worry. This mesh has a memory, meaning that even if you open your ties, it's not going to spring out and you're not going to lose it. See, it's open right now. Just going to push this down into that spot. There we go. And just adjust those. And now with our last one, after this, we'll just move right on to the putting our ribbon tails in. All right. There we go. All right. Makes a gorgeous wreath. Nice and full base. A little bit of the black showing through in every little section. Okay, and just to give you kind of a preview of what this is going to look like with our sign, that's going to be just beautiful. Now let's move on to the ribbon tails. Now, I pair up a 2.5 with a 1.5. And I've chosen to do the black and white polka dots with the yellow and white polka dots. And then the black and white stripe with the lemon. Now you'll see this lemon ribbon is actually a directional ribbon where all the lemons are growing a certain way. Which is not really a problem at all. All you have to do is just be consistent when you put them in your twist ties. Just put them in the same direction on the twist ties. Everything will be just fine. Did I just? Yep. See? There we go. Okay. So let's just take one packet together. We're going to take the lemon and the black stripe. We're going to lay the smaller 1.5 inch ribbon on top of the lemon. Fold it in half to get the center of the ribbon. And then we're just going to scrunch up the middle of that ribbon. All right. I kind of just push out the dimple right here. This is what I call the dimple. Push it out. And then start anywhere on the wreath that you want. I open up my twist ties. You do not have to. Just push that ribbon down into the V of that zip tie. I'm sorry, not zip tie, twist tie. Twist it around and then spread your tails out. Fan them out a little bit. And there you go. There's our first one. Okay, let's do another one. Now we're just going to alternate between the two color combinations. Just fold it in half just to give you an idea of the center. And scrunch up the middle. Push out those little divots. And move on to the next tie. When you put these ribbons in, you can give them these twists, a really good twist because we're done adding stuff into them. You won't be opening them up or adding anything anymore, so twist them off and then just open up the ribbons. And there's our second one, the polka dots. All right. And like I said, when you choose the lemon ribbon, just put it in the same direction. Just be consistent. There's no right or wrong which direction it is, but just be consistent with all of your directional ribbons like that. Push out the divots. Okay. And then just spread. All right, I'm going to finish up the bottom and most of the top and I'll come back. Okay, we're back and I just have two more to put in. It's the same process that I explained in the beginning. Just folding it in half, scrunching it down the middle. Pop the divots and then open it up. Now the only thing that I really do differently on this when I put these in, it's not when I put them in, but when I spread them. On the bottom level, I was spreading them kind of wide. Here, when I spread these, I just want them to be kind of on this half of the tie. And the reason that I do that is pretty much because whatever wreath attachment that I have generally goes in the middle, and I don't want those ties necessarily, this ribbon, to be lost underneath the wreath. So that way, by pulling them out towards the outer rim of the wreath, you're going to have more chance to see them. Okay, this is my last packet of ribbon ties. Just going to give it a quick measurement, scrunch down that middle, pop the divots again, and put it in. Give this a good twist because we're done putting stuff in there. And then just pull them out only to the outside of this tie. Now you'll see I don't have two ties here. That's because, as I said before, that's what I consider the bow zone. Now you can twist this wreath around. There's no top or bottom as of this point. So you can twist it around. If you want your bow down in, let's say, the 4 or 5 o'clock area, you just twist the wreath there, put your bow in there, and then put your attachment. But you could also just keep the bow, if you want the bow at the bottom, just keep the bow zone down there and put your wreath attachment. However you want to design this wreath, you can also twist it around so that the bow zone is more like a 10 to 11 o'clock up here. All right, and then put your sign in. Now, As far as this sign, there's no words on the sign, so you don't necessarily have to worry about covering it up with the bow. All right. So, you know, sometimes if you make a big bow and it overlaps, it will cover up words. We don't have to worry about it in this case. And I think I'm going to put my wreath more in this quadrant down here of the wreath, just so you can see it a little bit more in this area, and put my bow up there. So that's how this wreath is going to lay out. Let's work on the bow now. Now, the wreath kit comes with these 4 ribbons, but I like to make a very big bow, and you can make a big bow with these. You can simply do 2 or 3 loops on each side of the bow in each one of these, and it will come out to be a very large bow. But what I like to do is I'm going to start by putting pipe cleaner down the middle of these 2 pegs, and I'm going to add some ribbons to this. I have this lemon. I have this. I have just a few other ones to pick from. The reason I'm bringing pink in is because, remember those pink flowers? The little berries or buds in this sign? I want to pull that color out in the bow and in some of the flowers that I'm going to add in after the wreath is completed with, you know, to enhance the wreath a little bit further. So I want to bring in some pinks, but I don't want them to be in your face pink. I want them to be the light pink that's in that same family. So I have these to choose from as well as these. We're going to definitely put these in the wreath, in the bow. But I'm going to start with this one. Just put 2 loops of this lemon. And I think then I'm going to use, of course, these 4. We pretty much have a yellow already, so I'm going to push that one back. And I think I'm going to use this yellow and pink and this solid pink. So those are the ribbons that I'm going to use for my bow. Now again, you do not have to use extra ribbons. I just have a large stash. I buy a lot of my supplies from Trendy, so I end up having a really good stash to pull stuff out of. But if you don't, there's nothing wrong with just making your bow multiple loops of the same ribbon that came with the kit. So I'm going to start with this. This is a 4-inch ribbon. Has a very nice back on it. It's a very thick ribbon. So again, my bow is going to be up at the top, and I see long tails coming down from the top to the bottom along the side. So I'm going to take and make this tail probably about 12 inches. So 33 to 21. Let's make it 12 inches. Scrunch up that point. Actually, I'm going to make it a little bit longer, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this end and I'm going to twist it and make a kind of curl it up on itself to give a little bit more dimension to this tail and to bring in those other colors. So by the time I roll it up a little bit, I'm going to need just a little bit more than the initial 12 inches I thought. So let's go to 22, which is a 14-inch tail. Now I'm going to twist it, and you can see that the underside of the ribbon, black and white, is coming up. That's why you want it twisted like that, so that when you pull this loop over, the right side of the bow, the ribbon, the right side that you want to show is now coming up around and making the loop. We're going to make this loop about 8 inches big, twist it in the middle, and do the same thing over here. make it about 8 inches, bring it out to my 8-inch. Now, this is the last loop I'm making with this ribbon, so I'm just going to compress this ribbon down. I don't have to twist it because I want this side of the ribbon to show. We're going to cut this one a little bit longer so I can roll this side as well. All I'm doing is just rolling it and then pulling it to the top. Okay, so you can see I have my starting point, my X right there. And the way I build a bow, there's a lot of different ways, but the way I do it is I just build in X's. I form X's with the ribbons. All right, so let's do our black and white polka dot that came with the kit. And I started on this side, so now I want to start up here. Just alternate your starting points. My tail is going to go in. I'm going to twist it. And there we go. Make a loop that's just slightly less than that first loop. You can see I'm going to go just a little bit less. I'm going to twist this in the middle. And then same thing down here. Make sure the loops are about the same. I'm going to compress this one now because we're done with this ribbon. And then bring this tail down. I like to dovetail each ribbon as I go. Something that I don't have to try to remember at the end. All right, so this ribbon is done. Now let's do our other. And actually what I'm going to do before I put my other 2.5-inch ribbon in, I'm going to go and put this pink in. Normally I go from my largest ribbon up to my largest meaning widest to my thinnest, but I want to put the pink at the bottom as well and then bring that color up to the top. So I'm just going to add it at this point. All right, I'm just going to start now. We start on the bottom down here because we're just alternating our starting points. Bring that down. Pull this ribbon, twist it in the middle. And again, all I'm doing is each time I add a new ribbon, I'm making the loop slightly smaller than the loop before it. And there we go. You can see that we're making the X's and they kind of fill in spots. So basically we're fluffing our bow a little bit as we're going because we're building it in these X's. Okay, now let's go back to the tile 2.5-inch ribbon that came with this. Now remember, this was a directional, so I'm going to have to build this one a little bit backwards, okay? I want my tails to be, I want the pattern to go up. So I have to just, this is just an exception to the rule. I'm going to be, building, normally I would be starting up here. Okay, so this works out. This is twisted up here. And you can see that the ribbon's going the right direction. Twist in the middle. And now just compress it because we don't need to make any more loops. Okay. And by doing that, by building it backwards, the direction of the ribbon is already, the tails are going the correct direction. See, the stems are going up, the stems are going up. All right, so that worked out pretty well. Now let's go to, we have these 3 left. So I think I'm going to do them in this order. Black and white next, the yellow, and then the pink on the top. All right, so let's put that in. This black one is going to start down here at the bottom. Put it in, twist it. Twist it again in the middle. Just compress it now because we're done with it. And we'll dovetail at the end. Okay, now the yellow polka dot that came with the kit. I love how this black and white looks on that tile. All right, now we're going to start up at the top with this tail. Now, even though I dovetail my tails as I go, once I put the bow in the ribbon, in the wreath, if I don't like the length of them, I'll trim them up. But generally, you don't really get to see what it looks like until it's all together. So I know that my tails aren't going to be any longer than this. And you can always cut the ribbon, you just can't add to it. All right, and our last one is a ribbon that doesn't come with the kit, but that ties the colors in. Brings in that pink, that little touch of pink that's in our sign. We're going to start at the bottom. Make our and there we go. All right, so as the bow sits here, you can see all the colors. We have that pink down at the bottom, but it's mimicked up here at the top. It kind of brings that color up. It's not a large amount of pink, but it's enough to, I think, make a very pretty contrast, and pink and yellow go well together. It's kind of like pink lemonade in my mind. All right, so now let's pull this bow off. I'm using a large zip tie. All right, just going to slide it under the ribbons, and I want to make sure that I get it underneath this pipe cleaner, which we started. Remember, we put that between the two pegs. Just bring it up and tie it. I pull a little pressure on it before I pull that bow up. It takes a little pressure off my wrists, your hands. You don't have to try to hold all these ribbons in place, as long as you keep them in between this while you pull it. Okay, now once I have the tension there, I'm going to pull it off of the bow maker. All right, I want that zip tie to go into that valley that's created by the pegs. Just squeeze your ribbons gently as you pull that, and there you have it. We're all done. Let me get this out of the way. Now let's just fluff it. Now our bow doesn't need a lot of fluffing, only because of the way we built it, but we still need to pull it apart a little bit. And the way I do it is I start with this largest ribbon down at the bottom. I put my hand in it and just kind of pull the tail down. Okay, and we have to just remember which order we built it. We're going to pull the tail and the loop of the next ribbon opposite directions. All right, now we did the pink next, so we're going to pull the loop this direction and the tail down. Now the next one we did was the lemon tiled ribbon. We're going to pull that tail and that loop in opposite directions. And then the black and white stripe, tail and loop in opposite directions. Finally the yellow polka dot, and then the pink and yellow. I just love how that pink and yellow lines up with the pink one down below and mixes in with the yellow dots. All right, let's do the same thing on the other side. Put your hand in the bottom loop, hold on tight, and then get that big loop up there, or big tail up there, I should say. The next one, of course, was our black and white polka dot. Pull the tail one direction to loop the other. Next is our pink. Same thing. The next is the yellow lemon tiled ribbon. Okay, black and white stripe is next. And then the yellow, white polka dot, and finally our pink floral. Okay, now just go through your bow and give each of the loops a little love. Bring some life into them, make them round. Little poofy, these are all the tails in the middle. Then we have on this side, we'll have this ribbon down below. Give each of our loops a little bit of roundness, fill them out a little bit. And there we have it. There's our bow. Okay. Now, let's just get these ribbons out of the way. And let's attach the bow and the sign to the wreath. Okay, I want my bow zone up here. So I'm going to keep that there. I'm going to take my lemons, my lemon sign, put it down here. From the camera angle, it looks like it's falling off the wreath, but I assure you there's still a lot of wreath left over here. And then I'm going to feed these pipe cleaners down through the mesh. And the only important thing that I want to impress upon you is when you feed it through, you want to have the pipe cleaner straddle one of the wreath rails. Okay, this is where I need the magic of the needle. This is a needle with a large eye. It's plastic, but what you do is it will help feed the pipe cleaner through the mesh. It makes it much easier. I'll turn this wreath over to show you what I mean by making sure that the pipe cleaners straddle that rail. Okay, there's one. See how much easier that is? It just feeds right through. You catch it on the other side, and there we have it. Now, let's quickly turn this over. I'm going to hold the two pipe cleaners so I can turn this over without the sign coming back through the mesh, which we don't want. Okay, I've got the position I want it to be in. Okay, I'm not going to pull too tightly, but when you come through, you can see, hopefully, that this zip tie, or this pipe cleaner, is on this side of the inside side of the rail, and this is on the outside. And that way, that's what I mean by straddling the rail of the wreath form. If you don't straddle it, it's just hanging onto mesh, which is it'll make your sign very loose. Even if it doesn't, it's not hugely loose, it will look like it's loose from the front because it will have some movement in it, and you don't want that. So all I'm doing is just tucking away that pipe cleaner. Let's do that for the other three. Okay. And I usually go directly across from the one I started on. Let's get this one in. Use the needle again, just thread it. Makes it very much faster than trying to find this without. There we go. This one real quick. And you can see that by putting these, when I put this sign on, some of our ribbon tails have gotten tucked under, and I'll adjust those as soon as I get all the pipe cleaners through the mesh. I tried to go and start this tutorial a little while ago, but my neighbor's dog was out in their yard and she was having a bark fest. Now, I really can't get too mad at that neighbor because it's actually my daughter. She lives right next door to us with her husband and 2 kids, my granddaughters. So we are very blessed to have them that close. And if the downside is their dog barks a little bit, no problem at all. In fact, it's my granddaughters who always told me that I've practiced vlogging with them because they are big vloggers. They're 8 and 5 years old, and I swear they can vlog with the best of them. They're always pretending to talk to something with their iPads. But they were the ones who convinced me. They said, "Mimi, you can do this." And we did. We have had a lot of practice. Every time we bake cookies or work on slime, I make slime with them a lot. We pretend to vlog, tell everybody what we're doing. So I did learn my little bit of my technique from my granddaughters. So, okay, now we have our sign in. All right, now, this is why I kind of put my tails to the outside of just so that they're not lost underneath that sign. We'll just adjust them a little bit as we go around, and then we'll put our bow on. And this is the bow zone. Every time I say bow zone, I think of Bozo. Does anybody else remember the clown Bozo? I'm originally from Chicago area when I was born and raised in Chicago. And we had I'm not sure if Bozo made it nationally syndicated or not. But Bozo was a clown, came on at noontime all the time. So, of course, every time I hear Bozone, I think of him. Okay, so let's put our bow in. Okay, so now you just have to kind of figure out which angle you want your bow in. I'm going to use the same needle to put the bow through. It's the same technique. Just pull it through. And again, I'm just making sure that I straddle one of the rails, the ribbon, the pipe cleaners will straddle the rail just like we did before with the sign. And just pull it down and twist it. Now I'll go, after the tutorial's over, I'll go back and trim up I never trim the pipe cleaners until I'm very sure of where I want, if I like the placement, how it all turned out. Then I'll go back and trim those pipe cleaners. If you trim them too early and you don't like what, you'll have to, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to move that bow. Move the sign. So just leave them long until you're all done. And make that your last thing. Okay. So see, that was that long tail that was going to go down the side. Now these are, in my mind, they're all fighting for attention. So I'm going to trim them up all a little bit. Just take off an inch or 2 on these ribbons. Just so that they're not all the same length. And they're not all fighting for the same attention. They're going to fall into different spots. Just give them your ribbons a little curl with your hand. It's kind of like that curling ribbon. Do you remember that we used to put them on packages back in the old days when we'd wrap our Christmas gifts? In any case, just curl the ribbons with your hands. Bring this one up a little bit so it's all in line. And there we have it. There is our completed wreath. Now I did add just a few ribbons to the packet, but there you go. Now, if you'd like to stay for a little bit longer, I'm going to add a few things, some florals and some lemons to this wreath. Let me get them ready for you, and if not, I will say goodbye to those who are not interested in that part of the tutorial. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you stay and see the other things I'm going to add, but if not, I appreciate your time, and I hope that you've learned something or have been at least inspired by this. Thank you. I'm back. I figured out how I'm going to add florals to this wreath. You can see I've got the top part done. It's a very simple process. I'll do the bottom part with you. I'm doing it the exact same way, and I'll show you exactly how I made it as well as how I attached it to the wreath. And again, you can do whatever you would like. You could stop with just the ribbons and the bows. That makes a gorgeous wreath. I like to just add a little bit something extra. Okay, so I'm using supplies from Trendy. And let me give you the numbers. I'll read them out. I'm using greenery. This is a eucalyptus. It's called frosted eucalyptus. It's just a stem that it came with 4 stems. I took off 1 stem and I'm spreading it out. The number of that stem is 80067-frosted. Not sure where the frosting comes, but maybe it's the lighter color that's up at the top. In any case, that's the number of the greenery. Then to the greenery, we're adding this mum, and this number is M9766YE. YE for yellow. All right. And all I'm doing is I'm just building pretty much like a little floral swag with these pieces. Let's just fluff out these pieces. Okay, put one on that side. There's the bud. Isn't that gorgeous? Little bud. All right, so just gonna lay that on top of that. All right, now the next thing I added was this lemon pick. Sorry for the noise of that plastic. This item is item 62927SP16. This is from Trendy as well. 62927SP16. It's a pretty substantial lemon pick. You get very large lemons, beautiful greenery, and white flowers that mimic the sign. Okay, and all we're doing is we're just opening these up. Comes with these twigs, this little twig branch. And I like to just take and twist this, give it some curl. Just hold the end and wind it around your finger. And just pull it out. All right, and then all we're doing is just opening these up, trying to see everything that's included in this pick. Now we're going to push that on top of this, marry them together just by pulling these out. Okay, pull up your lemon. All right. All right, now at the base down here, we're going to zip tie this base down here. Like I said, all we're doing is pretty much building a little swag. All right. I'm going to zip tie one more zip tie up here. I don't know if you can see where my fingers are, but that way the branches of the picks themselves will prohibit, they'll hit this zip tie and they won't go any further if the somebody tries to pull these out, or, you know, mistakenly picks it up by the wrong thing. You won't be able to pull out these branches. Okay. Okay, and the last thing, that we're going to add to it, aren't these gorgeous little flowers? Okay, and these are from Trendy Tree as well. The number of these, and they came in a bush. Let's see if I can find that bush. It's a bush of 5. So unfortunately, what you're seeing now is just the 2 remaining, but it was a bush of 5 that I cut apart to make the top part. But this comes with 5 of these in a bush. Gorgeous little flowers. I mean, they're really unique. The number on these are 84236 BTY. 84236 BTY. Okay? So I'd like to have one here. So I'll zip tie this one in. And actually, because we're making the bottom part, which has, the bow has some heavy ribbon, I'm not going to put the pink flowers in. I'll glue those in separately. All right? I'll glue them into this mix separately so that we can see where the bow is going to hit this. The top part of the bow is pretty simple. It's you know, wide open, but the bottom part, we're going to save these. This was an additional piece of that greenery we started with. And then we're going to add all this as soon as we get the rest of this put in. Now, the place that I put this in, do you remember those 2 ties that we didn't put ribbon tails in? And we put the bow over that? Okay. There we go. All right, so we're going to use the ribbon ties that are underneath here that have no, I'm not sure if I can get this to see it, but I can pull the bow apart a little bit. This is one of the ties that we did not put ribbon tails in. So we're going to tie this piece to that. We're going to use that. We're just going to slip this underneath the bow. We're going to feed this through. And all I'm doing is I'm going to feed the black twist ties around this area here, okay, where my 2 fingers are. All right, right there. I'm going to put the black twist tie in there, twist it around so that if somebody tried to pull this out, all of these branches would keep it in place. Okay, so push back the bow, push this down into this bow zone. I'm going to take and wrap this black twist tie that we didn't put a tail in. I'm going to just pull that through those branches and then just twist it together. That branch is going nowhere, I can guarantee you that. It's all twisted in. Okay, now for extra security, I'm just going to put a spot of glue around that twist tie that's holding those in, okay? And there we go. That's how we put it in. Now we just have to manipulate a few things. And this little lemon may be lost, so I can cut that lemon and glue it in separately. Let's just move these tails so that the florals fall around it. Okay, just bring up our flowers from below. And see what I meant by these tails kind of cover up a lot of this area. So I didn't want to put the pink flowers in right away, just in case we needed to move them. And I think I'm going to clip this little lemon right from its bush, okay? Because that bow is kind of covering it up. We don't want to lose that. And we'll just re-glue it see, where can we reglue it? We can reglue it down here. Or we can glue it right here. Maybe this is the best spot for that. Okay, let's glue that. What I'm going to look for when I glue this is I'm going to put a lot of glue on the tip, and then I'm going to find this ribbon tail here. In between there is the black tie that ties this all together. When that hot glue hits that material, it just melts it together, and it it will hold very, very well. Okay, now I'm looking at this and I'm seeing that this flower is kind of covered up. So let's do the same thing with this flower. Okay, let's just move it. We can move these flowers any place we want by simply cutting them. All right. I want to get some color over on this area. So let's glue this flower back in maybe over here. I'm going to turn this so you can see it. And don't be afraid to put things low in your wreath. There's many areas to tuck things in. Okay, I'm going to put this flower right here. All right. Again, just glue the end and stick it to that black twist tie. Now you may think, well, that's lost, but don't forget, people come up, they're all different heights. They'll see this wreath from all different angles. Now let's glue these in, and let me show you. This is the bush that this comes on. It's an amazing bush. So pretty. All right, so I used one of these bushes. I took 3 flowers for up here, and I'm going to put 2 flowers down below. But I want these to be seen, so I'm going to put them in a place that can be easily seen. Let's see. I need to just stand up and make sure that we can see all this. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to just squirt some glue where I just put that flower, the pink flower. Work it in between, make it come above this ribbon. There we go. And then let's glue this flower in. And just putting some glue on the end. There we go. I don't want the tails to overcome this flower, to overtake this flower. We need this flower to be seen. There we go. Now the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to just take, I have a little bit of the greenery left. I'm just gluing that all together. I have some of this greenery left, so I'm going to cut this up and just add it to different places to fill out different places around here. So, and this is just, you know, according to your eye. See what your eye sees. I like to add some here up in the bow to make the bow look like it's blended in. I usually use a glue pot, which is just an electric skillet with glue in it. Makes it a lot easier than trying to get glue on these tiny little stems. But I didn't plug my glue pot in with enough time. And I'm just going to finish up here real quick. Just have a few more to do. I'm not sure if you're seeing me put these in. Just finding places along here just to elongate, support the bow a little bit, and pay some attention to this side of the bow. Let's give it a little bit more. Okay, so there you have it, the wreath. And as I said, I like to just put flowers in around the bow that kind of tie into the theme. I got all of this from Trendy. You can find it, plus plenty of other supplies that can enhance your... Let's just turn this a bit. And there it is, all finished. I hope you enjoyed this. I appreciate you spending the time with me. I hope that I inspired you to pick up a kit from Trendy and start your own, make your own. It's very easy to do, and it's very peaceful for me. It's an enjoyable time to lose myself. So again, I appreciate your time and hope to see you again.